You've carried everything for too long, with no rest, no release, no relief. And now you think you're falling apart. But what if this isn't your collapse? What if it's your upgrade? What if Allah is stripping away the version of you that was built in noise so He can build something unshakable in silence? This isn't burnout. This is rebirth. 1. The tiredness you carry is a hidden transfer of divine power. It's not just tiredness. It's not the kind of exhaustion that a nap will fix or a weekend away will heal. It's not something you can stretch out, drink coffee over, or shake off with willpower. This is deeper. This is spiritual. It's that feeling of walking through life in silence while everything inside you is screaming for clarity, of smiling for people while something inside you is fading, slowly, almost secretly. You feel like your light is going out, like your fire, the one that once fueled your goals, your work, your discipline, is flickering. And that terrifies you, because you used to be so strong, so focused, so driven, so awake. Now you're just functioning, not living, not broken, not okay. Just there. You keep asking yourself, what's happening to me? You try to make sense of it. You wonder if maybe you're being lazy. Maybe you've lost your purpose. Maybe you're just weak. But none of those are true. This isn't weakness. This is not failure. And this is not burnout in the way the world defines it. This is divine disruption. Allah is not draining you. He's emptying you of everything that wasn't yours to carry in the first place. You see, for years, you moved with energy that didn't come from the soul. It came from survival, from pressure, from proving yourself, from pretending. You showed up strong because you had to. You pushed through pain because no one was going to save you. You smiled through betrayal because that's what being a man demanded. You walked through fire, but somewhere along the way, you forgot how to cool your own soul. And now, Allah is bringing you back. But He's not doing it through noise. He's doing it through fatigue. Because your soul doesn't need a break. It needs a rebirth. The version of you that's falling apart right now was never built to last. It was stitched together by expectations, by disappointments, by suppressed emotions you never had time to heal from. And so, piece by piece, Allah is unmaking that version, quietly, without warning, without permission. He's removing the strength that came from pride, so He can replace it with strength that comes from prostration. He's draining the energy that came from ego, so He can refill you with light that comes from surrender. You feel like something is dying inside you, and you're right. The false you is. The version of you that faked smiles, stayed silent in the face of disrespect, ignored your own needs, and called it strength. That strength was never sustainable. That strength wasn't holy. That strength was a disguise. And Allah loved you too much to let you keep wearing it. So now, you're being unraveled, unmasked, unclenched, not to break you, but to reform you in a way that can't be undone. You are being returned to the you that can worship in silence, walk alone in peace, trust without answers, and rise without noise. You're not tired because you're doing something wrong. You're tired because your soul has outgrown the life you've been forcing it to live. And before Allah gives you what's next, He has to remove what was never meant to stay. This tiredness isn't a stop sign. It's a divine transfer of power. You're losing the energy that came from the world, so you can finally feel the energy that comes from Him. You're not burnt out. You're being rewritten. And when Allah rewrites someone, He doesn't need lightning. He doesn't need thunder. He doesn't need to announce it to the world. He just takes a tired heart in the middle of the night and starts rebuilding it in silence. One breath, one breakdown, one unspoken prayer at a time. So don't panic in this stillness. You are not being erased. You are being restored. You are not losing your light. You are learning how to shine without burning yourself out. You are not weak. You're just at the end of one version of you, and the beginning of the one Allah always knew you could be. Let yourself rest, not because you're giving up, but because you're finally in the hands of the one who never needed your strength to begin with, just your surrender. 2. The blankness in your mind is a mercy you don't yet understand. You used to be so clear, so certain. Your mind was sharp. Your thoughts used to flow like rivers. Ideas, plans, goals, excitement, energy. But now, it's just blank. Not broken, not sad, just quiet. You sit down to think, and nothing comes. You try to plan, but every plan feels pointless. You try to speak, but the words don't match what you feel inside. You start to panic a little, because you think you're losing yourself. You wonder, why can't I think like I used to? Why can't I feel what I used to feel? Why is everything just fog? But what if I told you that this blankness isn't a of loss? It's a of mercy. It's not failure. It's not depression. It's not the end of your drive. It's Allah putting your mind on pause so He can do something deeper. Because sometimes you've thought so much, planned so much, chased so much, that your thoughts no longer serve your soul. They serve your wounds. They serve your fears. They serve your need to prove. They serve your desire to control. And Allah loves you too much to let that cycle continue. So He silences your inner world, not to punish you, but to protect you from building a life based on emotions that were never healed and thoughts that were never pure. Your blankness is not emptiness. It's a cleansing. Allah is deleting the noise. The background tabs you forgot were open in your mind. The weight of memories you kept carrying because you didn't know where to put them down. He's shutting off the voices that were lying to you. You know the ones. You're behind. You're not doing enough. You'll be replaced. You're not strong like before. Those voices? They're not yours. They never were. But you believed them for so long. You started calling them your personality. So now, Allah is quieting everything. He's removing even your own ability to think clearly. Because right now, your clarity comes from what the world taught you. And He's trying to teach you something the world never could. Stillness, presence, tawakkul, freedom from overthinking. And yes, it feels confusing, because you were raised to believe that stillness means laziness, that quiet means weakness, that blankness means failure. But what if blankness is exactly what your soul needs to be reformatted? You are not lost. You're not broken. You're being paused, so Allah can interrupt the system that was never meant to run your life in the first place. The system of urgency, of pleasing everyone, of proving your worth, of chasing answers that never brought peace. And here's something no one told you. When Allah pauses your mind, He starts teaching your heart. This is the stage where logic won't work. Only surrender will. It's where your best ideas don't come from effort anymore, but from sujood. It's where your next step won't come from strategy, but from listening. Because the blankness isn't a block. It's a sacred blank page, not to punish your progress, but to prepare you for something your old self wasn't ready to carry. He's not asking you to think right now. He's asking you to feel what's still there under all the noise. Your fitra, your peace, your softness, your truth, all buried under years of performance and pressure. And if the only thing you feel right now is nothing, let it be. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is let the blank page stay blank and trust that Allah is writing on it in invisible ink. You'll see the message soon, but only once the noise is truly gone. So don't rush this silence. Don't fight this blankness. This is not a delay in your story. It's the moment where your soul finally breathes. After being suffocated by thoughts that never belonged to you, let the page be blank. Let Allah write, because His pen never trembles, and His pauses are never without purpose. 3. The detachment you feel is Allah changing what your soul craves. You used to care so much, so deeply, about people, about goals, about the life you thought you were building. But lately, you feel distant, unplugged, like a guest in your own body, like a stranger in the middle of a life you once prayed for. You go through the motions, but nothing moves you. You hear your name, but it doesn't sound like yours anymore. You smile in conversations, but it doesn't feel like you're really there. And you ask yourself quietly, why am I feeling so disconnected? Where did my emotions go? Why don't I care about the things I used to love? You start to wonder if you're becoming numb, maybe even cold. Maybe something's wrong with your heart. But what if nothing's wrong? What if this disconnection is not death, but transformation? What if the detachment you feel right now is actually Allah pulling you away from what your soul no longer needs? You're not going numb. You're going deeper. You're not broken. You're being cleaned out from the inside. Because for too long, your heart was attached to things that gave you identity but not peace, validation but not security, love but not truth. And now, Allah is unhooking you, quietly, gently, painfully, not because He wants you to lose what you had, but because He wants to give you something your old attachments could never hold. You used to crave attention. Now you crave silence. You used to care so much about how people saw you. Now their opinions feel small, almost invisible. You used to chase success, status, or someone's approval like oxygen. Now you sit still and feel strangely free. This isn't spiritual failure. It's spiritual awakening, because Allah never changes what's around you until He changes what's within you. Your soul is shifting. Your hunger is being rewritten. The things that used to light you up now feel like sparks from a fire that went out years ago. Not because you've lost your passion, but because your soul has matured. You were addicted to things that made your ego feel good, but left your heart feeling hollow. And now, Allah is doing the painful but beautiful work of teaching your heart to crave Him again. It's not that you don't feel anymore. It's that your emotions are no longer willing to attach themselves to lies. And when that happens, everything that once felt urgent, loud, exciting, dramatic, suddenly feels fake. You start wanting stillness instead of stimulation, depth instead of attention, real instead of impressive. And it confuses you, because no one talks about this stage. The stage where you lose interest in the things you were once proud of. The stage where people say, "You've changed," but they don't see that it's Allah who's doing the changing. He's purifying your desires, refining your love, upgrading your cravings. He's pulling your soul away from what felt sweet but left you sick. And at first, you might miss it. You might miss the distractions, the highs, the emotions that kept your heart spinning, but never steady. But eventually, you'll notice something deeper, a peace, a clarity, a softness that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Because when Allah changes what you crave, He also gives you the strength to walk away from what you used to beg for. You're not becoming distant, you're just becoming whole. And when your soul finally belongs fully to Allah, the world may call it detachment, but the angels call it returning. So don't fear this stage, this strange, quiet, emotional distance you feel from people, desires, and even your own past. You are not disconnecting from life. You're disconnecting from the illusion of what you thought life was. And Allah is connecting you to what your soul always knew it needed, Him. For your loneliness isn't emptiness. It's an invitation to intimacy. You've been feeling alone in a way that's hard to describe. Not the kind of loneliness where you're physically isolated, but the kind where you can be in a room full of people and still feel unseen. The kind where conversations feel empty, connections feel forced, and your presence feels like it no longer matters to anyone. You look at your phone and wonder why no one checks in, why the messages have stopped, why the invitations dried up, why the people you once poured your soul into now act like you were never there at all. It hurts, even if you don't say it out loud, even if you pretend you're used to it. Some nights, you wonder if anyone would even notice, if you just disappeared. That's how deep the silence feels. And in that silence, you start to ask painful questions. Did I do something wrong? Why does it feel like I'm being erased? Why is Allah letting everyone walk away when I needed them the most? But what if I told you that this loneliness is not abandonment? It's an invitation that looks like silence, but is actually the softest whisper from Allah. Come back to me, because when people leave, Allah stays. When their love fades, His mercy doesn't. When their absence makes your chest ache, His closeness makes your heart steady. And the reason this hurts so much is not because you're broken, it's because you're being redirected. For too long, you searched for comfort in places that could never truly hold you. You gave your energy to people who only remembered you when they needed something. You built a space in your heart for others, but forgot to build a space in it for Allah. So now, He's clearing the room. He's removing the noise, not to punish you, but to finally sit with you, alone. Because there are conversations your soul has been craving that only happen in isolation. There are healing tears you were never going to cry with people around you. There is a version of you that could only be born in the quiet ache of being unseen by the world and fully seen by your Lord. This loneliness you feel, it's not empty. It's sacred. It's where Allah begins to fill you with the kind of peace that doesn't depend on replies, hugs, or validation. It's where He teaches you that your value was never in how many people needed you, but in how much He desired you to come back. It's where He becomes not just your creator, but your companion, the one you speak to when no one listens, the one who never interrupts, never forgets, never leaves. Because the loneliness was never meant to break you. It was meant to reveal who's truly been holding you this entire time. You didn't lose people. You were being rescued from attachments that were blocking a much deeper connection. And yes, it hurts, because the soul must be emptied of the wrong people before it can be filled with the right nearness. And sometimes, the right nearness is not found in anyone else, but in a late night where it's just you, the sky, your broken voice, and a Lord who answers even the tears. You never learned how to explain, so don't run from this stage. This stillness, this ache, this emptiness that isn't really empty. Because what you're calling loneliness might actually be the moment your soul finally says, Ya Allah, it's just us now. And that is the most powerful beginning of all. 5. The death of passion is the birth of purification. You used to wake up with energy. You used to chase goals with excitement. You used to talk about your dreams like they were right around the corner. You felt alive, motivated, on fire. But now, you feel flat, uninspired, detached, like the flame went out, and no matter how hard you try, it won't come back. You try to force the feeling. You try to talk yourself back into caring. You revisit the plans, the habits, the ambition, but your soul no longer responds. It just stays quiet, and that silence terrifies you, because passion was your fuel. It made you feel purposeful. It gave you identity. It got you through pain. It distracted you from wounds you weren't ready to heal. And now that it's gone, you don't know who you are without it. But what if I told you that the death of that passion is not the end of you? It's the beginning of something far more sacred, because not every fire inside you is holy. Some passions are fueled by ego. Some are fed by insecurity. Some are lit by the desperate need to matter, to prove, to be loved. And Allah knows how easily we mistake intensity for purpose. So when He loves you, He doesn't just give you new dreams. He purifies the source of your energy first. And sometimes that purification feels like a fire going out. Not because you've failed, but because you're finally ready to stop chasing what felt good and start receiving what actually is. You don't feel like yourself anymore, and that's okay, because the you've been calling yourself, the one who couldn't rest unless you were achieving, the one who kept proving your worth through your work, the one who was constantly producing, performing, pleasing. That version of you wasn't rooted in peace. It was rooted in survival. And now, it's being buried. Not to destroy you, but to purify you, to clean your intentions, to strip you of the addiction to results, to remove the false belief that your value depends on how on fire you feel every day. Allah is not punishing you by taking your passion. He's replacing your fire with light. Fire burns fast. Light sustains. Fire draws attention. Light brings clarity. Fire consumes. Light guides. And if it feels like everything you once loved is fading, maybe that's because your soul has finally stopped settling for what excites your mind and is now craving what nourishes your heart. The end of your passion is the beginning of your purity. Because now, when you move, you won't move out of desperation. You'll move from stillness. You won't chase your calling just to feel important. You'll walk it with humility, knowing it came from Allah, not your ego. You won't serve others for applause. You'll serve them for His sake. And that shift, that quiet internal shift, is the birth of sincerity. The passion you lost was never the goal. It was the invitation. The invitation that led you here, to a quieter place, a cleaner heart, a deeper kind of purpose. So let the old fire die. Let it burn down every illusion you built around being driven and productive. You're not less valuable because you're not passionate. You're just in the middle of being purified. And when Allah purifies someone, He always replaces what was lost with something that cannot be taken. So be patient with the silence. Be gentle with your tired spirit. Because what's coming next will not be built on hype, dopamine, or motivation. It will be built on light, intention, and quiet strength. The kind the angels record. The kind Allah plants. The kind that never dies out again. 6. The delay in your dua is the preparation of your heart. You've been asking for so long, and you've been asking with sincerity. Some days, you whisper your dua with full belief, full hope. Other days, your voice breaks halfway through the sentence, because you're not even sure anymore if your words are reaching the sky. And sometimes, you don't even have the strength to ask. You just sit in silence, tears in your eyes, head down, heart tired, because you feel like maybe your dua has been denied, or worse, forgotten, and your soul aches with the question you're too afraid to say out loud, "Why is Allah not answering me?" But my dear heart, what if I told you that He is answering you, just not in the way you expected? What if I told you that the very delay you're questioning is the exact space where your heart is being rewritten? Because Allah doesn't rush what He loves. He doesn't hand over gifts to hearts that are still wrapped in desperation, fear, or attachment to things that don't serve the soul. He waits, not because He wants to hurt you, not because He's ignoring you, but because He wants to give you something that won't break you when you receive it. And for that to happen, your heart needs to be shaped by the silence. You asked for peace, and the world around you got louder. You asked for clarity, and your thoughts got more confusing. You asked for connection, and people started walking away. It doesn't make sense at first, but here's the secret you were never told. The answer to your dua is not in the event. It's in the becoming. And sometimes, becoming takes time. You wanted ease, but Allah wanted you to build patience first. You wanted success, but Allah wanted you to build sincerity first. You wanted love, but Allah wanted you to learn how to be whole without being attached first. Because what you asked for, it's not small, it's not ordinary, it's not cheap. And anything that's sacred requires preparation. So while you wait, while you cry, while you doubt, Allah is doing the unseen work. He's removing people who would have corrupted the blessing. He's protecting you from roads that would have distracted you. He's building strength inside you that will hold the weight of what you're asking for. And the longer it takes, the more beautiful it will be, because only Allah knows how to give you something exactly when your heart is ready to receive it, without losing yourself in the process. Some people receive their dua quickly and lose their soul trying to keep it. But you're being protected from that. So don't measure your prayers by time. Measure them by transformation. Because every time you ask, and it doesn't come, something still happens. Something shifts inside you. A layer peels back. A wound rises. A truth is revealed. And slowly, the version of you who made that dua months ago starts fading. And a stronger, softer, purer version of you begins to take shape in the waiting. That's not delay. That's divine artistry. So don't stop asking, even when your voice shakes, even when you don't know what to say anymore, even when you whisper it for the 1000th time. Say it again, because every dua you think is floating unanswered in the sky is actually doing its real work in the soil of your heart. It's breaking what needs to break. It's planting what needs to grow. It's removing what was blocking the very thing you asked for. And when the timing is right, when your heart is fully prepared, when your soul is strong enough not to worship the gift over the giver, it will come, So don't let the silence fool you. You are not being ignored. You are being prepared. And the one who hears even your unspoken words has never missed a single tear you shed when you thought he was quiet. 7. The confusion you feel is the collapse of false narratives. You keep asking yourself one question over and over again. What's happening to me? Why does everything feel upside down? Why do the people you trusted suddenly feel unfamiliar? Why do the goals you once chased now feel meaningless? Why do your own thoughts, the beliefs you built your life around, no longer feel like they belong to you? You try to hold on. You try to go back to how things were before, but something in you won't let you. And now you're standing in the middle of your own life, feeling completely lost, confused, uncertain, detached. You don't recognize your reflection anymore, not in the mirror, not in your mind, not in your heart. But what if I told you that this isn't confusion? It's clarity beginning to surface by first destroying everything that wasn't true, because the mind always clings to what's familiar, even if it was false, even if it was toxic, even if it was never yours to begin with. And for years, you were taught stories about who you had to be, about what makes you valuable, about what success looks like, about what strength is, about who you are allowed to become. You wore those stories like armor. You called them your identity. You used them to move forward, to feel safe, to feel accepted. But now, that armor feels too tight. Those old beliefs no longer fit, because Allah is rewriting your reality. He's not just changing your surroundings, He's undoing everything inside you that was built on survival, shame, and illusion. You're not confused. You're standing in the ashes of a version of you that was created by fear, not faith, by culture, not Quran, by people, not Allah. And when the soul starts waking up, everything that isn't real begins to fall apart. That's why you feel lost, because the map you were using was never meant to lead you home. It was meant to lead you to approval, to noise, to temporary comfort, to people who only loved you when you stayed small, predictable, and easy to control. So when Allah began awakening your truth, your false attachments began to break. It's not that you don't know who you are. It's that for the first time, you're meeting the version of you that was buried under expectations for so long. And yes, it's messy. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Because no one tells you that healing looks like confusion at first. That clarity sometimes begins with collapse. That strength is born through stillness and surrender, not certainty. You feel like you're unraveling, but what's actually unraveling are the lies you were told about what makes you worthy. And beneath all of it, your fitra is waiting. That pure part of you Allah placed inside you before the world told you who to be. The you that still remembers Him, even when your mind forgets. The you that was always guided, even when your heart felt numb. The you that was never defined by people, titles, numbers, or roles, but by the softness of your sujood and the sincerity of your whispered, Ya Allah. So, if you feel like you're falling apart, know this: you're not falling apart. You're being reborn through divine confusion, through spiritual silence, through a storm that's not destroying you, but cleansing you of everything false. Let it fall. Let it all fall. Because what remains after this collapse will be real and pure and finally yours. And in that stillness, you'll realize you were never lost. You were just finally letting go of everything that was never you. 8. The you that's fading was a survival identity, not a soul. You've been feeling it for a while now, that strange, quiet fading inside of you. It's hard to explain to anyone because it's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's constant. You wake up and something just feels distant. You look at the clothes you used to wear, the dreams you used to chase, the people you used to fight so hard to keep, and none of it fits anymore. It's not hate. It's not anger. It's not even sadness. It's just this deep, subtle ache that whispers, I don't belong here anymore. You feel like you're losing yourself. And that thought terrifies you. Because who are you without the energy? Who are you without the labels? Who are you without the story you kept repeating to feel stable? But what if the version of you that's disappearing was never the real you? What if the you you're grieving right now was a mask you wore to survive? The one who smiled through things that broke you. The one who stayed quiet to keep the peace. The one who kept showing up strong, not because you were okay, but because you had no other choice. That version of you? It was necessary. It kept you alive. It got you here. But now, it's no longer serving your soul. Because Allah is not asking you to survive anymore. He's inviting you to live. Fully, truthfully, spiritually. And for that to happen, the survival identity must fade. Not to destroy you, but to reveal you. To uncover what's been buried underneath all the coping and controlling. Your softness, your sincerity, your connection to Him. You were taught that strength meant hiding your pain. That loyalty meant shrinking yourself. That love meant staying silent. That faith meant pretending to be okay all the time. But now, all those definitions are collapsing, and you're standing in the quiet ruins of who you once were, feeling lost, unsure, exposed. But in that sacred vulnerability, a new self is being born, not built on trauma, not built on people's expectations, not built on fear, but built on fitra, your pure soul, the one that was always there beneath the noise, the one that remembered Allah even when you forgot yourself. You thought you were disappearing. But the truth is, you're finally becoming visible to yourself. You're not falling apart. You're falling into place. And yes, it's uncomfortable, because it means saying goodbye to an identity that carried you through the worst. But it also means finally breathing again, without guilt, without performance, without pretending. You're not failing, you're shedding. And that is one of the most beautiful signs of divine rewriting, because what Allah removes, He always replaces with something lighter, more true, more sacred, more you. So if you feel like you're fading right now, let it happen. Let the false strength dissolve. Let the old habits fall away. Let the character you had to play finally rest. Because what's rising in its place is a soul no longer surviving, but finally returning to stillness, to truth, to Allah. And the real you will not need to be protected anymore. Because when Allah rewrites someone, He never asks you to keep being who trauma trained you to be. He calls you back to the version He saw before the world tried to make you forget who you are. So, if you've been feeling tired, not just in your body, but in your soul, if your prayers feel quiet, your heart feels blurry, and your reflection feels unfamiliar, just breathe. You're not being punished. You're not being erased. You're not being left behind. You're simply being rewritten in the kind of silence that only angels understand. Every tear you didn't explain, every thought you couldn't put into words, every part of you that felt like it was disappearing, Allah saw it all, and He didn't rush you. He didn't shame you. He didn't abandon you. He simply waited until you were too tired to keep pretending. And in that quiet collapse, he began the most beautiful part of your story. The part where you return, not to who you were, but to who you were always meant to be. Before the world interrupted your soul, you are not lost. You are not broken. You are simply being rewritten by the one who never needed a pen.